People in many parts of Nebraska, including here in the metro, couldn't get a hold of 911 last night. Everything was restored this morning, so what happened?
6 News is on your side. Our Joe Harris looked into it and brings us the details tonight.
Overnight, emergency calls in districts across Nebraska were not in service. The cause? Telecommunications provider Lumen and the Nebraska Public Service Commission say a fiber optic cable was cut by a third-party contractor doing work in Omaha.
That impacted the 911 service to a number of 911 centers across the state.
Sankey says it's not uncommon for that to happen, but it rarely has this kind of impact on 911 because of the other systems in place, like redundant network paths.
If for some reason there's an interruption in one circuit, the other circuit's able to deliver the path.
But he says that redundant network path was not available last night, and the commission is asking why. He says they can open an investigation into what happened, and if they find a violation, they could fine Lumen. The commission says 39 of them were impacted.
I would say that the reason that the 911 centers that were affected with this particular outage is because the calls that were being delivered on that circuit were directed towards those centers. And there were other circuits delivering calls to the 911 centers that remain operational.
And Sankey says they're transitioning 911 centers to a platform where they can use an emergency services internet protocol network for calls to be routed to another center, just in case another line is cut. On your side, Joe Harris, 6 News.
Now, coming up later tonight, we'll cover who was impacted and how they operated while the system was down.